The video, it's still there on the other channel. Link in the description. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rift News. Fun fact, I number my news episodes, so I can tell you that this episode is number 35. I know this fact holds no value, and it is not even a joke, but I wanted to let you know. Anyway, welcome back to a show that's ready to recap everything you need to know about the near future of League of Legends. We got a lot of posts on our hands, so let's get on it. The first thing we need to talk about is something big for all League creators. After years of Skin Spotlight supplying 90% of all creators with their camera tool, Riot decided to step in and turn those camera tools into their own. If what I'm talking about is too confusing for you, let's use an outdated meme to simplify it. See, Riot decided to make their own camera tool so that creators wouldn't rely on third-party developers to update it. This was one of the reasons why Skin Spotlights wanted to stop updating the tools. It was simply too much unnecessary work for them. But had they actually stopped, League of Legends would lose majority of its influencers. So Riot simply had to step in and continue the work. The second reason why they did it is likely because other games like Fortnite have better built-in creator tools. And I think that Riot is at a point where they need to step up their game to get back to that number one spot. The new tool overall seems to be easier to use. So in the future we may see more creators doing 3D editing shenanigans in League. Right now the tool only works for PvE, but when 9.4 is deployed, it will work on live servers as well. And speaking of live servers, let's see what's happening in 9.3 that recently went live. Besides champion updates that are nothing special this time, Riot updated some AD carry items. It's funny when you realize that most of the item changes are just reverses to their much older versions. Because despite how much simpler AD carries used to be, a couple of years ago they worked just fine. The one example worth mentioning is Infinity Edge, that will give you crit again, and it will increase your crit damage like it used to in the past. Since Valentine's Day also happened this week, and we had a special video celebrating that fact, this patch also introduced new Heartseeker skins, Vi and Fiora, both of which we talked about in the last Rift news. As it is a norm with chroma skins these days, expect both having a Ruby version that's only available if you buy the entire bundle. And if you don't care about champion skins, you may be interested in a Queen Poro ward. I would honestly be surprised if they didn't use this model in the next Poro King event. But besides this, the new patch didn't bring anything super new. That's why PBE stepped in. By now you may know that PBE brings in some of the best new skins Riot ever worked on. Or so people say. Of course I'm talking about Papercraft Anivia and Nunu. Now I wanna talk about these skins a little bit and maybe give Riot some feedback for the future. There is no doubt that these two skins are amazing. But I think they are amazing for a different reason than what people preach. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't call them the best skins in the game, because they have some flaws. But I would say that they are definitely the most creative skins Riot ever made. These skins are like nothing we have seen before. Whoever was working on these was thinking outside the box. Nobody expected Papercraft champions. But the theme itself is doomed to carry one flaw with it. Papercraft and origami creations are designed to recreate real objects in as much detail as possible. And you can tell that Riot took inspiration in real papercrafts. Both of them have an incredible amount of detail. The problem is that the more detail you stick to a champion in League, the more cluttered and noisy your screen feels. It almost feels like the papercraft skins have too much happening on them. If you look at the screenshots where the champions are using their abilities, you almost can't tell what's their head and what's their butt. Again, it's purely my opinion, but I feel like these skins have too much detail on them. It's to a degree where the overall champion gets lost in itself. It's a strange problem to have, especially when talking about good skins like these. But that's how I feel. When it comes to their abilities, however, both skins nailed it. From Anivia's book walls and stunning fortune tellers, to Nunu's scissor mark passive and tearing paper ultimate. When it comes to particle effects, it's simply amazing. Both of these skins already have their splash art on PBE, and even their chroma skin lineup. And if you pay close attention to Anivia, you may notice that she has an emerald version, which means that Anivia will be the one creators get to give away. By the way, we do that on our streams if you're interested. The last thing about these skins is that both of them will have their own icons. Very likely either bundled in, or they will be for RP separately. Now let's head into boards to have a look at some Riot posts. First of all, we have a post by Beardylox. In the past, we have seen spell updates for champions like Anivia, Mundo, Jarvan or Veigar, and now we are getting even more. The first revealed update is on Ganon. He is one of the nearly OG League characters, and he was still using the old spell effects, so I am glad that he's getting an awesome update. All of his spells, including his auto attacks, look incredibly good. An amazing quality of life improvement is the fact that you can now see the E radius. What's funny about this is that the shuriken in his hand now looks worse than the one he throws. Of course, Blood Moon version will be altered, and Super Cannon has a flying pose. After this, the next one is Olaf. The only critique I have when it comes to Olaf is that his auto attack doesn't seem to be lined up with the new visuals. If you go frame by frame, you can notice that the particles go out before the hit. That might be just a bug though. With that said, his other abilities look stunning. From the post we learned that the main goal with Olaf was to clean up his unnecessary particles. And what's cool is that Brolaf now has Greggy Eyes logo under his X. However, the Pentakill Lightning lost its Pentakill logo, and that is unforgivable. Then there is Riven. Now, the community already shared some feedback on her. The main critique was that her spells look too green, almost toxic-like. How ironic. However, I understand that it's supposed to be the green Noxian runic magic. It almost reminds me the chemical bombs in Ionia. So I get both points of view. On one side, it doesn't fit Riven that well, but thematically it refers to her past. It's really up to Riot how they decide to tackle her. And the last update is Wukong. There's not much to say honestly, it's not a massive update. It's just meant to make him look smoother. Next we need to talk about Sylas. Riot released a unique video where they explained how Riot pushed the developers to break their chains and make a champion that wouldn't be normally possible. I highly recommend watching the video because it is really easy to understand the technical bits there. But if you don't want to, I'll quickly summarize the main points. Basically, in the past, champions weren't designed to share their code with other champions. For example, if there was a champion that had the ability to silence your Q ability, the code wasn't structured in a way where the Q ability would have its own imaginary folder, and everything that's part of that Q folder would be unusable. Champion ability codes were always wrapped around the entire champion. For example, that's why when Mordekaiser manages to steal your ghost without a bug, his ultimate only looks for basic values on the target. Is the enemy ranged? And what attack values did they have? It doesn't care about abilities and other codes at all. It only needs numbers. The same goes for the dragon. It looks at the target and checks the numbers. But Sylas needed the code. So in order to make all of Riot's future work easier, and in order to make Sylas work, they restructured their entire code so that champion abilities are now in their own separate imaginary folders. So now, not only is ability tweaking much easier, but Riot can now fix bugs much faster, and they can do more crazy things with copying and altering abilities in the future. And now, let's have a look at a couple of posts all about ranked games. So if you are a competitive person, this one is for you. First of all, Magic revealed their current plans for 2019. In his first post, we got this roadmap. Since 9.3 is technically out, most of its features should be live now. This includes new loading borders, ranked emote that represents first split, and LP gains that will show you what positions gained what amount of LP. This was basically a clarity update, so you always know how well you did. But later, when 9.4 hits, Riot will add in improved LP splashing. Right now, if you play your main role and you get some LP for your off role, you can't get into promos until you play that off role again. That should not happen in 9.4. The moment you hit 100 LP, no matter how you get it, that role should get into promos. And in 9.5, promos will get even better. When that patch hits, when you are in a promo series for a role, you are guaranteed to get it if you queue up as that role. So no more dice rolling to see if you can even play your promos. But besides these updates, Riot is fixing some LP gain issues. For example, autofill should now give you even more bonus LP. And penalties for throwing your off-roll games should also be much higher. A nice bonus is that you won't lose LP on all rolls if you lose on one of them. That is, if you play legitimately. If you are throwing, you are still going to lose on every roll. Magic then released a second post where he described even more issues that they are fixing. Most of it is just incorrect LP values being dished out or taken away. And now onto the last part of this news episode, which is Ask Riot. This one is also themed around ranked games, and all of the answers are also by Magic. The first question is, how are positional ranks going? The answer is basically a summary of what we just talked about. Loads of bug fixes and quality of life improvements. But we also got 3 topics listed. These are points that Riot is currently focusing on the most. First of all, we have swapping. Especially in high MMR, people found ways how to abuse the system. Basically, they were able to funnel LP into their main role through their off rolls. That abuse was fixed more than a week ago, but Riot is making sure no other ways to abuse it appear. Then there is incentives. Here he primarily talks about LP splashing. The fact that you gain LP for your main role even while being autofilled is good motivation. The fact that you lose LP if you intentionally lose on a role you don't like is technically also good motivation. So the core of the system is in place. Now it's all about tweaking. And the third point of focus was the grind. But that should get better in the future. We already talked about the fact that Riot is increasing the rewards to make the climb easier. Next question. How does decaying work with the new position ranks? Will you decay for a position you haven't played recently? Or are your ranks safe as long as you are playing one position? Basically, now you can only decay if you are Diamond 4 or higher. Each position has its own decay timer. When you play a position, the timer resets for that position, and all other positions that have lower rank. So if you only play your main role, you are safe. Players who are in Master Tier or higher have even more rules, however. For every game you play in Master Tier or higher, you get a point. You can store up to 10 points, and every day 1 point is removed. If you happen to have no points, you lose 100 LP every day. So if you play a lot but then you stop, you'll have 10 days of being safe, but then you start to decay. Why is the position rank skew only in 2 regions? The simple answer is that position ranks are a massive step forward, so Riot needs to be careful with their changes. Even if they release it for one region, that means that they need to look into the statistics of millions of players. So they are trying to make their work easier by releasing it slowly. I mean, it works. So far it looks better than Clash. Why can't we choose what role we don't want to play? Apparently early in development, there was a veto position. You could basically choose what role you didn't want to play. The issue is that everyone chose support, and suddenly the matchmaking timer tripled. Since support will always be less popular, unless there is some kind of revolution. Not only can you not pick the role that you don't want to play, but there also has to be autofill. Someone has to get that role after all. Have you ever thought about letting people hide their rank so others can't see them on their profile? Easy answer is that rank is supposed to be competitive, and showing that rank is part of that design. The point of a competitive game mode is that there will be players in all tiers, high or low. If you played that mode and placed low, and then you decided to hide the fact that you are bad, that would be against the idea of being competitive. So if you don't want to show your silver rank, I guess don't play a rank is the answer here. And the last question, how does Provisional system work? Because I won more games than my friends in placements and got placed in Bronze 1, but they all got placed in Silver, but I used to be in Silver last season. Here it is better if I just read the full answer. During placements we consider a few pieces of information: your past rank, your MMR, and your win-loss records. When you play your first game of the season, we give you a provisional rank based on where you ended last season. You should expect it to be about a tier lower. Then, during the reset of your placement games, your LP gains and losses will largely depend on your MMR and your record against the team you face. Any or all of those variables could be different from one player to the next. And if they are, that could explain why you got different result. So in other words, if you get placed against a really hard enemy, the fact that you lost doesn't matter. What matters is how well you did against them. So no matter what game you are in, always try to do your best. But that's it for this episode of Rift News. If you are more into skins and gameplay and less into ranked, this was probably a boring one for you. But hey, I don't decide what's happening to the game. I wouldn't be surprised if the next champion was revealed just as we release this video, after hours of recording and editing. I really hope they are not revealed yet. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.